This man was lost in the Amazon jungle for 6 long months. The amazing thing is that he managed to survive thanks to a diamond he found in a hidden cave. It's hard to imagine how someone could live in such an unfriendly environment, but this person managed to do it. Let's find out more. 6 months without water. Jose Salvador Alvarenga left El Salvador in 2012 on a fishing trip. He wanted to catch some fish and earn money for his family's livelihood. However, he never returned home. Jose's boat overturned, and he found himself in the vastness of the ocean. He managed to get to the shore, but when he realized that he was completely alone, panic seized him. There was no one around, just thickets and dangerous animals. But Jose had no choice but to explore the area and try to find at least some food. However, there was nothing around except trees and bushes, and the local monkeys kept jeering at the unfortunate fishermen. Salvador was very upset, but he knew he couldn't stay there, so he decided to go further into the jungle. 3 days later, Jose came across a river. Of course, he couldn't drink the water without purifying it first, but boiling it wasn't an option since he didn't have a container. Hunger and thirst tormented him, and he soon fainted from exhaustion. Luckily, a local resident found the unconscious man and took him to a hospital. Although Jose felt much better after receiving treatment, he still had no idea how to return home. He stayed at the hospital for 3 weeks until he was finally allowed to leave.
Ow.
But Jose still couldn't leave because he had nowhere to go. But all of this was only the beginning. The real adventure was yet to come. A year of survival. Jose lived with a local family for about a year, working for them in exchange for food and shelter. During this time, the man managed to save up some money and buy himself a boat so he could continue his fishing activities. But fate had other plans for him. Jose's new boat overturned during another storm, leaving him stranded in the jungle again. The man panicked and ran away from the coast as fast as he could, hiding from dangerous predators. Jose walked through the jungle for 2 whole weeks until he saw a clearing. There was a small hut in the middle of the clearing where an elderly local resident lived. Jose went up to the hut and asked for some help, but the old man just shook his head and closed the door. Apparently, the old man didn't like outsiders very much. But Jose stood outside the hut for several hours until the old man finally opened the door and let him in. It turned out that the old man was a former military man who knew a lot about plants and herbs. He gave Jose some water and helped him recover a bit. And then they went into the jungle together. Jose thought that the old man would show him the way home, but this wasn't the case. They were walking for a long time, and all the old man did was collect various plants along the way. At night, they made a fire and ate roasted tubers. Jose was very surprised by this, because he'd never eaten anything like that before. The old man explained that these were cassava plants, which are poisonous if not cooked properly. After a while, the old man stopped in a clearing and showed Jose a huge tree with many roots. "This is my home," he said, and it really looked like it.
Ah!
Jose couldn't even believe that anyone could live in such conditions. But the old man had been living there for over 30 years. Jose spent about 6 months with the old man. During this time, he learned a lot about plants, animals, and the surrounding world. Jose also had to build a hut and make tools out of stones and wood. In general, he had to learn how to survive in such conditions. However, Jose still dreamed of going home, and the old man understood this. One day, he took Jose to a clearing where there was a small mound covered with grass. "We need to dig it up," the old man said, and Jose did as he was told. When the man pulled the last clod of earth out of the ground, he saw something shiny in the hole. It was a big diamond. The old man picked it up and handed it to Jose. "Take this with you," he said. "It will help you make your way home." Jose thanked the old man and took the diamond.
Damn.
Then he put it in his pocket and started digging another hole. Jose didn't know it yet, but the diamond he found was a real treasure. It's the secret of the diamond. The next morning, Jose said goodbye to the old man and went in search of people. All around there were tall trees and thick bushes. It was almost impossible to see even a meter ahead. But Jose pressed on, guided by the rays of the sun. After walking for a couple of hours, the man suddenly saw a clearing in front of him. There were people and houses nearby. Jose couldn't believe his eyes. Finally, he'd found people. Of course, everyone was very surprised to see a wild man in their settlement, and even a little scared, but Jose didn't care. He quickly approached a woman and asked her to call the police. The man said that he'd been walking for 6 months and was very hungry. That's why he asked for some water. The woman immediately agreed to help him. She gave him some water and called the police. Soon Jose was already in a police car. The officers were very surprised to hear his story. Of course, they didn't believe it right away, but they still took the man to the hospital for a checkup. The doctors couldn't find Jose's name in any of their databases. He was suffering from severe vitamin deficiency, but his life was out of danger. Jose was taken to the hospital for rehabilitation, where he was given vitamins and protein foods. Jose recovered pretty quickly and left the hospital much stronger than he'd been before. But there was still no one to identify him or claim him. After Jose was released from the hospital, he wandered around the city for a few days. No one paid any attention to him. People just kept walking past him. Then Jose went to the local church. Perhaps someone there would want to help him. And indeed, a priest agreed to help the man. Father Julio was very surprised by Jose's story, but he still invited him to stay at the monastery for a while. Jose accepted the offer and moved into the monastery. Jose spent several months at the monastery until he regained his strength. The locals even gave him the nickname Tarzan, because the man had been living in the jungle for so long and didn't know how to behave in society anymore. But what happened to the diamond? Turned out that it was worth $15,000. That's why Jose decided to sell it. And here's the most interesting part. Jose planned to use the money to buy some land and build a house for the old man, but the priest convinced him to spend the money on his own future. Now, thanks to the diamond, Jose had the opportunity to start a new life. Today, Jose lives in a small village near the place where he was found. He works as a carpenter and occasionally visits Father Julio. The man still has the photo the priest took of him. In it, Jose is smiling, looking healthy and happy. So it turns out that a random diamond found in the jungle was the reason why the man survived. Jose's story shows us that even the most desperate situations can be overcome if you don't give up. Jose could have died in the first few days, but his determination helped him survive. If you find yourself in a difficult situation, remember Jose's story and keep moving forward. What would you do if you were in Jose's place? Leave your answers in the comments. And that's all for today. Rate this video and see you soon.